Hi, for those who don't know me, I'm Cheryl Andrews, also known as the Listening Detective, and I have spent the last 30 years helping people to manage themselves through change and helping them to understand why they say one thing and do another, and if when they ask other people to do something, why people don't hear them and react and respond in the way that they'd like to. So welcome. I want to tell you about an opportunity right now to help you get through this massive change that we're finding ourselves in. Over the next 8 weeks, if you would value some support, solution and strategies to help you find your new normal faster and more effectively than doing it alone, then please stay tuned. 12 years ago, 2008, I trained as a coach, and I really believed if I helped people get clarity of what they wanted, that was all they would need in order to make the shift. But what I soon discovered is when people are in overwhelm, when their world has changed outside or inside in some dramatic way, they often lose that ability to slow their thinking down in order to get to a state where they can think with clarity and confidence. And that's when we started looking at what do they need to get back into that curiosity, that state of mind where they're learning and observing and noticing patterns and process and even actually noticing the progress that was going on. And as we started to drill down, we realised it was more about helping them to be confident in the way that they worked, the way that they learned, and the way they wanted to live their life. And if they didn't have an understanding of who they were and what worked for them, in amongst all that chaos that was going on, they would see lots of different ways of doing it and get overwhelmed as to not knowing what to calibrate against. So if you don't know what works for you, you could see 100 things. And in the age of information, there is never a lack of a guru out there telling you what you could do, ought to do, or should do. I spend most of my time helping my clients work out what works for you. So if you know right now that this change means you're having to recalibrate and find your new what works for you in terms of working online or working with your family, then the 8-week course is going to be some quiet reflective time. It's going to take just 2 hours per week or 20 minutes per day or 2 hours on a Sunday for you to work through a worksheet and submit it to us. And then we're going to have fortnightly calls fortnightly calls will be every other week, won't they? We'll have calls every other week, starting this Tuesday on the 7th of April. There's one at 7 o'clock on Tuesday night, or you can choose to have 10 o'clock on Wednesday morning or 2 o'clock on Wednesday afternoon. We're going to meet fortnightly for a 2-hour group mentoring call where we're going to share and compare our different responses. And how this is going to help is on multi-levels. One, you're going to find out what you need to work, learn and live at your best. We're going to start to be curious whether your default pattern is much more about, do you prefer to work very independently or do you prefer to be in groups? And if your current environment is not giving you what you need to work at your best, how can you develop strategies to be okay with that? So if you normally prefer to work in a team, but you're now feeling very isolated, how are you going to get that ability to get the benefits of a team in your current situation? And if you find yourself very amongst lots of people, but what you really need is some isolated time, we're going to find out how you can set boundaries and how you can create that environment for you to have that quiet thinking time. We're also going to look at how you learn. So we're going to look at the 5 senses. One of the massive things that's changed right now with everything that's going on is we've become in the virtual world, and without consciously being aware of it, we've lost touch, taste and smell, which we naturally have when you go to a coffee shop or even to the gym. All of those have got different smells and tastes, and they interact with our own senses, and they create triggers and often positive endorphins that we're not going to have now because we're not going to have those connections in that way. And so we're going to be looking at how you learn. Where are your 5 senses predominantly? What works for you? And again, if you're lacking in any of those, how could you create strategies and solutions that will help you to overcome that in the current environment? And lastly, we're going to be looking at living at your best. It's really easy when everything gets thrown up in the air and you're doing a 52 card pickup, trying to shuffle and work out what you can do. You can forget to have fun. You can forget to learn and grow and evolve through this process. So we're going to make sure you're actually clearly aware of what you'd like to live at your best. Now, the number one advantage of having all of those models is when you've got 3 models, you'll start to know some of your patterns and processes and start to recognize, oh, I always do that. So those rhythms will help you to be able to plan your weeks, your month and your years in a way that will make it so you're more efficient, more effective, more productive. And the great news is when you are more efficient, more effective and productive, you tend to have better health, wealth and happiness because you show up better in your business, you show up better in your relationships and you take better care of yourself. So the last 3 models we're going to look at in this particular course is we're going to look at how you make a good decision, how you talk about time and how that impacts your decision making and your ability to plan. And then you're going to create a plan for the next 8 weeks and beyond. Right now, we've all gone through change, but the reality is we're going to have to go through it all over again. When the gates are opened, we're allowed to go back. There's going to be people who have still will carry that, oh, I shouldn't go out, I feel guilty. We're going to have to relearn to have confidence to go outside. You might have people who don't want to come off of being online. They like staying there, or you might like staying there. So we're going to have to rejig and do it all over again. This course is going to give you the 8 weeks to really set yourself up for success. So it's going to give you support during the process, but give you the springboard to make sure beyond this crisis that you have an awareness and the tools of what you need to work, learn and live at your best. So if that's of interest to you, how the course is going to work is that it's going to be, we've got a Facebook page. So on a Monday morning, I'm going to give you a worksheet. There's a workbook, and I'm going to tell you which page in the workbook you need to work through. And there's an activity that's going to come into the group every day for 7 days. You can either log in and do those activities 20 minutes at a time, roughly, or you could log on Sunday evening and do all of it in a 2-hour burst. And the invitation through the course will be to check which one gets you more insight and understanding, so you start to understand how you answer questions at your best. We will then have the fortnightly calls, and on those calls I'll share with you some models that will help make sense of the way that you're working, learning and living, and things that could help you to improve it. But mostly what we're going to do is share our individual models for learning, working and living at our best, how we make decisions, how we experience time and how we plan at our best. What this does is it gives you access to different ways of thinking and learning and processing the same information, but it also gives you more understanding and compassion for those that you work, learn and live with who may think in a way that's different to you. It can be really frustrating when you say one thing and somebody else does another thing. But what you will learn on this course is how we could use one word and how many different variations there are to the interpretation. And what I hope that will do is give you more compassion, more care, more patience, both with yourself and those that you work with. So if you are now in a position where you're really wanting to use this time valuably, you know that you need to restructure, you know you need to have some kind of discipline and support in place in order to ensure that you can manage yourself in order to manage other people, then this course is guaranteed to give you awareness of yourself, that it can raise your level of confidence and improve the way you make decisions about how you use your time day to day. If you'd like to find out more, click the button below. This is an absolutely not to be repeated offer. It's a special rate because of the fact that it is the current climate as it is. I normally charge £1,600 to work one-to-one with clients do this, and I have charged up to £800 to do this in group coaching before. And so if you want to do this now, press the button. There's a really exceptional offer. You can pay up front for one fee, or you can pay weekly over 12 weeks. I'm doing everything I can to make it as easy as possible. If you still got questions, just message me. Get in touch at cheryl@stepbysteplistening.com, and I will be happy to answer any questions that you need answering in order to make the decision. But don't hang around too long. We are starting on Monday morning. Speak to you soon.